Hello, guys. Just getting everything set up. Okay. Let's take a drink of water real quick. This is going to be an important one. If you guys haven't seen it yet, Twitter went full fascist today. And I mean full fascist. They have a plan, and it's something that I've suspected for a while, and we've had rumblings of, but we weren't able to confirm 100%, so didn't put it out there. You guys know I've gone hard on Twitter, on all social media, really. But what they've done today confirms that they're 100% planning to, fully meddle. We already knew they were meddling, but, this is going further than what anybody imagined was. I wouldn't say anybody because, we thought this, but a lot of people on the left, especially Democrats, they all said, oh, you're crazy. Social media would never do this stuff, blah, blah, blah. It was always denial from everybody on the left about what is happening today. So I have in front of me the new rule changes that Twitter's making for the election. I'm going to go through this story. I'm going to go line by line, and I'm going to tell you what each one of these new rules means. Okay, I'll try to keep this concise. It's important that people know what's happening, though, and what is about to happen on Election Day. But right before Election Day, right after Election Day, for them to interfere in what is going to happen. So here we go. This is from Washington Post. With Election Day looming, Twitter imposes new limits on U.S. politicians and ordinary users. The changes will alter the look and feel of Twitter, increasing the amount of time a user must spend to retweet someone else to comment. Twitter will impose new warnings on politicians' lies. Okay, let's stop right there. Which politicians do you think they're going to be imposing warnings on? Because I haven't seen one warning on a Democrat politician. Have you guys seen one warning on a Democratic politician's lies? If you have, please say so in the comments and explain which Democratic politician and what lie. Because I could send you hundreds of lies from them, but I haven't seen one corrected. Restrict premature declarations of victory and block calls for polling, violence, or other disruptions. Okay. The key line there is restrict premature declarations of victory. What that means is on election nights, this is something I've been telling everybody for a while. My expectation is that on election day, Trump's going to win. It's going to be very clear on election day that on election day voting, he's going to win. So when that happens, what they want to do and what the media is setting up to do and what social media companies are helping them set up to do is to make sure that people can't claim that Trump won. Okay, so if somebody like me, who's a verified account that has a bunch of followers, I come out and I say it's clear that Trump won, this is a major victory, blah, 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 or Trump comes out and says it and claims victory, they're going to stop people from seeing those tweets. They'll probably lock our accounts based on these new rules. They may even ban us. They probably wouldn't do that to President Trump, but they would suspend the tweet. They wouldn't allow people to see it. But people like us, or normal people, followers, they will end up suspending or banning your account for this type of behavior. Okay, which is essentially, something that we've been able to do throughout history in any public forum, any sort of private forum, is be able to state our opinion about something. That's the whole point of this, isn't it, of social media, is stating our opinion. That's what they're not going to allow you to do anymore, is if you see with your own eyeballs that it looks like clear election victory, you're not allowed to say so. Because the fascist social media overlords have decided that you're not intelligent enough to decide for yourself if you believe that somebody won the election or not. Okay, CNN has to confirm it first. So let's go further into this. The company, let's see here. The company announced that these rules will roll out this week related to the November 3rd election. So they're not hiding this has to do with the election. The moves will also temporarily alter the look and feel of Twitter. Retweeting others, for example, will require an extra step designed to encourage users to add their own thoughts before posting recommendations of trends. And trends will get new curbs intended to prevent abuse. So let me explain that. Basically, when you try to retweet me or you try to retweet the president, they're going to add a new step that asks you if you would like to add your own comments. And in some cases, if there's an article listed, it's going to tell you that the articles, that headlines don't tell the full story. You need to click and read the story before retweeting, that type of thing. So they're adding barriers being able to spread the information. And this is done, obviously, because they're trying to clamp down on the fact that the right is very good at social media. There's the saying, the left can't meme, they really can't. But in terms of, spreading a message this is one of our primary places where activists on the right are able to spread the reality of what's going on. For instance, yesterday, Gretchen Whitmer, had those guys were arrested for plotting to kidnap her. The media was saying that these were all Trump supporters and blah, blah, blah. The only reason that we found out that they were not all Trump supporting Republicans is because of me. And I don't like to toot my own horn, but I'm saying it. I dug into these accounts. I recorded this stuff. No media, no journalists had done it. I did it and put that information out there. That's the only reason we have the truth about the fact that those guys, one of the ringleaders, he's posed with an anarchist flag behind him talking about hating Trump, hating the police. Those are not Republican values. That's definitely not a Trump supporter. And that's how we broke that news, is my ability to do that. And that's what they want to censor here, is your ability to spread that message. So Facebook also, by the way, announced similar rules this week. So that's another thing. I don't have that in front of me, and I want to keep this somewhat short for you guys so you can share this, and it's just good info. But let's dive in here. So Twitter's moves, like those announced recently by Facebook, are aimed to combat efforts to manipulate the political landscape at critical moments in the hotly contested national vote. Now, think about that sentence. This is aimed to combat efforts to manipulate the political landscape at critical moments in a hotly contested national vote. Basically, they're saying that you have too much power, okay? You normal people have too much power. And for us, the media, the tech overlords, to be able to yield our power that we should have, we should be the ones who have the power to be able to influence people. To remove your ability to influence, we're going to shut you down if you try to influence people in any way, in any shape or form, okay? Which is, by the way, again, the whole purpose of social media. It's an influencing platform to share your thoughts, share your feelings, share the news, share whatever it is, okay? They're fundamentally working against their shareholders too, which, by the way, this is something that people need to talk about. If you're a shareholder on Twitter or Facebook, they're working against your interests as a shareholder because they're ensuring less use of their platform by people walking away because of this heavily restrictive environment that they're creating that is going to clamp down specifically on one side. Let's be real about it. When have we seen them actually clamp down on the other side? They haven't. They don't. They do nothing to Democratic politicians, nothing to Democratic activists. You had Sean King telling people to go, destroy churches and destroy Jesus statues if they weren't black. Okay, they did nothing to him. They do nothing when any of these people were giving instructions on how to tear down monuments or what, a million different examples, okay? They do nothing to them. But the minute somebody on the right says something halfway unpopular, like mentions that there were ballots thrown in a ditch somewhere or, something like that, they get clamped down on. So let's go further into this. Twitter has a critical role to play in protecting the integrity of the election conversation. We encourage candidates, campaigns, news outlets, and voters to use Twitter respectfully and recognize our collective responsibility to the electorate to guarantee a safe, fair, and legitimate democratic process in November. Okay. Keyword there is collective. This is, again, a left-wing ideology that Twitter's spitting out. That's a statement from Twitter. They believe in the collective, and they believe what's best for the collective is the best for everybody. They're not about individualism. They don't care what your individual feeling, thought, or opinion is. They care about what is for the greater good. And in Twitter's mind, what's for the greater good is a Joe Biden election win. So whatever they can do to put their thumb on the scale, they are going to do. And that's what they're doing with these rules. This is just their thumb on the scale. The moves are likely to intensify the platform's contentious relationship with President Trump and Republicans generally, who have reacted to a series of tightening restrictions by claiming, without offering systematic evidence, that they are intended to squelch conservative political speech and ideas. Okay. I mean, I'm sorry. I try to keep things really clean on here. So if there's any, I have nothing nice to say about this sentence. With no evidence, this is Washington Post said, with no evidence, there's no evidence they go after Republicans. I'm sorry, you can't gaslight us. Even Democrats have seen that Twitter and social media sites fundamentally have gone after Republicans at every turn. At every step, they've gone after us. Democrats lie about things. They do all kinds of crazy stuff. They never get messages added to their tweets. They never get banned. They never get suspended. Okay? It's just ridiculous. Every rule that Twitter builds is built around clamping down on the speech of Republicans. Okay? So don't give me this BS that Washington Post is giving here that, Republicans don't actually get targeted. If you guys saw my Twitter yesterday, I showed proof, 24 hours of messages that I got of people saying, hey, I was unfollowed from you and I didn't do it. Twitter unfollowed me from your account and it wasn't my choice. Go back and look at that thread. It's up on my Twitter with screenshots, hundreds of people in just 24 hours, okay? On a monthly basis, I get over 1,000 of these messages from people. Twitter is doing this, and they're only doing it to one side. So, if they want to ban me over this video, then go for it, Twitter. But I'm telling people the truth. This is something that's going on. And you guys know I've been talking to an executive at Twitter for over a year to fight for Republicans. And I've done it on multiple occasions. I've gotten people unbanned. I've gotten people unsuspended. I have fought at every turn for our rights and abilities to spread our messages. But we're at a point of no return where they want to fundamentally change our ability to have any influence on the election. They want to hold all the cards and be able to say, oh, you can't say that Trump won. Okay. It's ludicrous, absolutely ludicrous. And I'm sorry, Twitter, if Trump wins on election night, which I expect he will, and he's carrying Pennsylvania, he's carrying Florida, he's carrying Ohio, you can't pretend it's not happening. Okay. And you're going to try to based on these rules, but people need to rise up and say, no, this is insane. And actually send a message to Twitter that this is not okay. So let's see here. And by rise up, by the way, Twitter, I know you're going to say that's a call to violence. It's not. I'm saying rise up on the internet and send messages, okay? Send messages that are not threats, that are not violence or anything. Send messages to make very clear to Twitter that this is not okay. So just for Twitter's safety team that's looking for a reason to ban me, I made that very clear. So let's go in here, which, by the way, my recommendation to President Trump, get on Parler right away and start posting all the tweets on Parler that Twitter will not allow you to post on Twitter. And then post on Twitter saying, make sure you're following me at Parler, because that's where my uncensored thoughts are, since Twitter is not allowing me to post tweets that are important for voters to hear about. I want to make sure you all have a place you can hear my uncensored thoughts. Trump should do that. And I think that Twitter may get their crap together really quickly then. And on top of that, we need to have Section 230 repealed, and then we need to have an Internet Bill of Rights for users. So let's see here. Premature claims of victory made before officials or credible news sources have called the election also will get labeled with users directed to Twitter's election page. The company said any tweet related to the presidential or congressional elections that the company's moderators say encourages interference in the voting process, especially if the tweet encourages violence, will be removed. Obviously, anything with violence, should not be on here. Nobody should be calling for violence. But what they're saying here, premature claims of victory made before officials or credible news sources have called the election will also have action taken against them. So again, who defines credible news sources? Is Daily Caller a credible news source? It is to half the country. Is Daily Wire a credible news source? It is to half the country. Is, Breitbart a credible news source? It's not to Twitter, but it is to a large segment of the country. So who's defining what a credible news source is? Are they going to put a list out, or, how are users supposed to self-govern when you don't actually have clear rules? The reality is there are no rules. The rules are anything good for Trump is against the rules. So just, get that through your head. Anything good for Trump on election day is against the rules, and you may have action taken against your account, especially if you're an influencer, okay? Especially if you have a large following. Those are the people they're going to be targeting at, warp speed leading into the election week. So just be warned. This is what they're doing, and they're openly telling you that they're doing this. For ordinary users, the more visible changes may be the steps Twitter is taking to slow rapid-fire retweeting of others. Starting next week and continuing until a winner in the presidential election is declared, Twitter will limit the ability of users to retweet automatically. Instead, you have to go through a quote tweet or a commentary step. They added these steps to add friction, extra friction, and an extra step to force users to slow down and decide whether they really want to spread the message of a tweet. Okay, so again, this is Twitter trying to clamp down on people's ability to freely share information. They are behaving the way fascists behave, okay? And I'm not being dramatic about that. I'm being dead serious. They're behaving the way fascists do. So Twitter is also restricting the way it recommends content, another avenue for tweets to go viral. Twitter users will be limited in their ability to see content from people they don't follow directly, okay? Let me explain that. This is one of the key lines. Twitter's restricting the way it recommends content, another avenue for tweets to go viral. That means that the only tweets that you're going to have recommended to you in trending categories or in moments or any of those things on the front page or in the trending categories, they're all going to be leftists. And I know it's already pretty far to the left right now, but right now, if you follow me, say, and you click a trend, you'll probably see one of my tweets somewhere in there, most likely. I mean, some of you guys, I mean, they play with it, so it depends on a daily basis, but you see some people on the right that you engage with, you'll see their thoughts. Going forward, that may not be the case because they're restricting the way they recommend content, and clearly they're going to gear towards what they consider approved institutional news outlets that are, pretty much, they're all Democrats. Just be real about it. Another avenue for tweets to go viral, Twitter users will be limited in their ability to see content from people they don't follow directly. So let me explain that. This is all about discoverability. When you want to have an influence on an election, you need to influence voters who are undecided. So this is meant to keep people from swaying undecided voters, because say I tweet something like I did yesterday that makes it very clear that, one of the ringleaders that went after Governor Whitmer, who thank goodness they got caught, they were planning to kidnap her apparently. I put out there, and I was the first person to do it, that this guy was actually hated Trump. He was anti-police. He was an anarchist. And that was his ideology. The news was spinning all kinds of fake stuff. So in that case yesterday, I was giving people the real news. The news was lying to people. And once the news caught up with the information I had put out, then the narrative started to shift a little bit, and suddenly they want to memory hole it. But situations like that are a good explanation for why this is so dangerous, because the reason that my message traveled so far yesterday is because people who already followed me retweeted what I said, retweeted the videos, the evidence to other people. And those other people who don't follow me had the opportunity to find out the truth. Going forward, leading into election week, that is not going to be the case. And they say this is temporary, but it's not temporary, okay? This is here to stay if we don't fight it, if we don't say that we're not okay with it, if we don't cross-platform, use other platforms, and be very clear about the way we feel about these rules, okay? So write to Twitter support, write to @Twitter, write to their lawyers, write to anybody who works there, that this is not, something that we find acceptable, that this is something that is obviously meant to help one side. And also, more importantly, reach out to your Republican congressmen, congresswomen, your senators, and tell them you guys need to take action. Same with the people at the FCC, everywhere throughout government. Write to them. Make your voice heard that this cannot be the reality we're looking at. There's also I wish I had it in front of me. There's a tweet up on my page right now about there's a guy for the FCC board that has had his nomination slow walked. I think it's by Senator Whitaker or Whitker. It's on my Twitter page. Look for that. There's a phone number there for the senator's office. That's another one that needs to get done, because that may be the defining vote on being able to take some action against Section 230. So that's it. If anybody has any questions, I'll look real quick. Let's see. And by the way, again, this is a good point I see somebody making in the comments. This is what countries like Cuba, Venezuela, this is what socialist and communist countries, places like China, do to their citizens, okay? And that's a very important point to make, because this is what we're leaning into. It's almost like communist capitalism, where you have, which sounds strange, but it's like a weird fusion, which is something that they actually experienced in some parts of China. And basically, it's like these companies are so intertied to a government body, in this case, the Democrats, that they're essentially operating as one body. And they're operating towards left-wing ideals, and it's sort of a color revolution that they're engaging in together. So that needs to be recognized. And you also need to ask yourself, what will these people do if you give them real power? If they have the White House, the Senate, Congress? I mean, I'm not exaggerating when I say this is something that could cause, if they win this election at all three levels, could cause damage that will not be able to be rolled back for decades and decades and decades and decades. Because if they add new states, that means new senators who are Democrat from Puerto Rico, from DC, and new representatives. That means that elections on a national level are now tilted to Democrats' side for a very long time. Now, what else could they do? They could give illegal immigrants who now do not have right to vote, they could give them the right to vote, okay, if they have all three branches. So, and again, they're talking about packing the court, which Joe Biden has been, very clear in his non-answers that that's essentially what they're leaning into. They could give illegal immigrants the right to vote, which again would flip elections for decades and decades and generations, okay? you would honestly at that point have to have conversations about us having a national divorce, because it would take it so far that there's no going back. There's no going back for so long that people who do not want to live that way would need to have the opportunity to pull back, because you allowed a bunch of people into our system who are not a part of our system in the first place to fix the game, rig the game against one side. So if anybody has any questions, go ahead and ask them real quick. I'm going through your guys' comments. I don't want to make this too long, but I'll answer a few questions. How do we combat this all together? I think I gave some points. One key part is making sure that we write to those senators, congressmen, elected leaders in general, and making sure that they're taking action, okay? That's a big part of this. Also, just don't stop talking about it. Let's make this trend on Twitter. Let's get Jack's attention and say that the people demand that this not occur. The people demand to have our voices heard. We demand to be able to use our voices, and that what they're doing is essentially they're operating like fascists, and we need to call them out for it. We can't let it escape. Even if they don't respond, they don't do anything, we need as many people to understand as we possibly can that these people are behaving like fascists. So thank you for that question, Olinti. And I will say I'm disappointed in our elected leaders, which is why I'm considering running for office, because I'm disappointed that this was allowed to get this far. And I have to ask myself deep down, do I think this would have happened had I been in a position for this not to happen? And it would not have. I could tell you that. And I think that we just don't have enough elected leaders who understand technology, who understand what the hell's going on, who understand how the left is going to use these systems and these machines, all of it, to be able to sway elections for as long as they possibly can, for generations and generations. We need those people in office fighting. It's not something I ever wanted to do, but you know what? Maybe the best politicians are people who didn't want to do it. But that's what we need. And so if I have to, that's what I'm going to end up doing the next time, 2022, because we can't sit on our hands any longer and allow these people to do this stuff. And I'm sorry that people on YouTube or on Periscope who were saying their stream was paused. I mean, like I said, social media, they're doing everything they can to get in the way. I'm reading your guys' comments real quick. Yeah, a petition may be a good idea. There's this username @imatriarch. Sounds like kind of a weird name. She asked about maybe a petition. That sounds like a nice idea. I would suggest to you @imatriarch that you start the petition. She's over here, by the way. She's literally right off camera. She's right there. Say hi, Landon.
Hello.
She's over there. She's too cool to get on today. Thank you, Smile Point. I appreciate that I'll get all your guys' votes. Curious, do you think Nancy's prepping today in an effort to get Donald out? Yeah, so I will say this, Nancy Pelosi's nuts. Okay, she's an absolute nut job, and I don't say that lightly about somebody who's the speaker. She's insane. She is an absolute certifiable lunatic. Okay, what she's doing with the 25th Amendment is I would say it's a joke, but it's not funny. I mean, it is funny, but it's not funny, because it's such a waste of our institutions. It's a waste of our taxpayer money. The lady is unhinged. Trump has driven her insane, and she shouldn't be the speaker. If anybody, we should be having a conversation about pulling anybody from office. It's her.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. It's Sunday. Good morning.
It's Sunday?
No, don't you remember Nancy Pelosi's creepy video?
Oh, yeah.
She's like, good morning. It's Sunday. Sunday morning. Good morning.
All right, let's see here.
Hey, y'all.
Oh, thanks. The guitar is Landon's. Business party said nice guitar. You want to tell him about the guitar?
Thank you. It's a bittersweet orange. I love that color. What about a petition? I mean, I hate petitions. Like, I don't know why, but maybe it's because most leftists send them to me all day long about like a turtle. I got one with a goat that needs help. A goat.
A goat petition.
Yeah. So, but what about like a thread petition? Has anybody done that? Like where you guys all sign your handle? right? Like, and it goes at Jack, at Jack. I mean, how many handles could you have?
Oh yeah,
Citing
you know what?
petitioning.
I'll do that today. I'll start
Yeah,
that.
because then
So
it's less work for people. Like,
yeah,
people
I'll
are
start
busy.
that today, and it'll be a long form petition demanding Jack's response. So I'll do that actually when we get off here. That's a great idea. Wives always have great ideas.
I'm glad I could be of service.
You are. Do you think they'll try to steal the election if Trump wins on election day? You want to answer that one?
What's that? What was the question?
Do you think they'll try to steal the election if Trump wins on election day?
I mean, they're going to do whatever they can. What have they shown us with their behavior?
Yeah,
I mean,
the
there's
answer
no
is
holds
yes.
bar. They're going to do whatever they can, and they'll even weaponize, you know, our fields of medicine and you know, psychology. They'll do whatever they have to do to get rid of him. Short of assassinating him, they will do whatever they can.
I wouldn't even put that past them. I really wouldn't.
I mean, people are going to start losing.
Whoop. Can you guys hear us? Tell me if you can hear and see us. Women are geniuses, Alinti. Let's see.
Some of these handles are so gross.
I think they can hear you.
Look, okay, here. This is what's happening right now.
Okay. So here, I'm trying to fix it. See if you can hear me on there.
You can hear.
You can hear?
Us. You were blocked.
I was blocked.
We blocked. You can hear us.
Let me see. I'm trying to get the figure out what the hell's going on here. Of course, some crazy stuff like this happens while we're on.
Okay, yeah. I just got my phone. I can see.
You can see me?
Well, no, I can see that people can hear us at least.
There we go.
There we go.
All right, we're back. I don't know what just happened, but I got it fixed. So, yeah, I mean, obviously Twitter's screwing with us.
They didn't like the petition idea.
They didn't like the petition idea, apparently. Let's see here. I'm reading your guys' comments real quick, and I'll answer the questions. I just want to say how insane this all is. This is insane. I feel like we're living through the absolute breakdown of our society right now. And actions like this by Twitter put us closer to a civil war, not further from it. They're not helping the conversation. They're hurting it. They're intentionally dividing people, and they're making people angry. They're making people want to go further into their own sides, further into their echo chambers, because that's where they're being pushed. They're being herded. They're being herded by social media and all these rules further into their side. And this is another example of the people at Twitter probably think they have the best intentions. They probably think that they're just these benevolent, loving elites. But the reality is, this is the thing about rich liberals, okay? I hate even calling them liberals because they're not liberals anymore. They're illiberal. They're regressive. They're illiberal. The reality is they think in their head that they're doing the liberal thing. They think that they're doing this like just such a loving thing for everybody, you know? And the reality is, you know, they're always doing the exact opposite of what they think they're doing. They just don't understand. They don't understand what their actions have consequences and what those consequences look like. I'm a scary witch. I didn't know you could have a male witch. Can you?
It's a fundamental difference is the idea that we have to be controlled by government or just by other people's opinions about how we should live our lives versus, you know, the individual approach, which is less government and the individual governing their own lives. I mean, that's what we're seeing is people that think that they know better and they want to control groups of people and tell you how to live your life, how to spend your money, moralize to you. Pretty much they're control freaks. And where does that control come from? It comes from a lack of control within their own selves over their own lives. That's where that comes from.
Yep. By the way, I just want to mention that the debate issue before we get off today. So the new debate was supposed to be moderated by Steve Scully. The Presidential Debate Commission changed the rules of the debate without talking to the president. To the president. They didn't even talk to him. They didn't consult him. They just unilaterally said, we're changing the rules. We're doing a virtual debate with Steve, which, by the way, Steve Scully got his start in politics before he became a reporter, because he was whose intern? Joe Biden's intern. He was Joe Biden's intern. That was his first job in politics, was Joe Biden's intern. He's supposed to moderate the debate. What happened yesterday after Trump said, you know what, I don't think I'm going to do the debate. I don't want to do one over the internet. This should be in person, blah, 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 which is a negotiating tactic, okay? What happens then? Steve Scully writes a tweet to Scaramucci, to Anthony Scaramucci, who's an anti-Trump lunatic who just wants attention, and says, should I respond to Trump? It was obviously meant to be a DM, and he screwed up, and now he's claiming that it was a hack. And to him, I would say, show us an FBI report. But remember, filing a fake FBI report is illegal, Steve. So I doubt you're going to do it. You're not going to show the evidence of it. And if you do, I will be shocked. I'll give $100 to whatever charity you want, okay? You're not going to do it. It's just ridiculous. You know you didn't get hacked. You screwed up. You're a dinosaur who doesn't know how to DM. And you sent what was supposed to be a DM as an @ reply, and you got caught. Okay, you got caught. You're a partisan hack, and you should have never been the debate moderator in the first place. Okay, in a just society, debate moderators would be unbiased, or the two sides would each choose one they piggyback one after the other, after the other, after the other. You have some semblance of fairness. Instead, every single moderator that was chosen this time was a Democrat. Okay, literally everyone. Chris Wallace even is a registered Democrat. Okay, so he may appear on Fox News, but he's a registered Democrat and he hates Trump. So let's be very clear about that. And I also want to be very clear that this is not just Democrats to blame. This is Republicans rolling over and being weak to blame. Okay, we need to fight. We need to use our levers of power. We need to fight back. We need to use our positions and our leverage to be able to get things done. We should have never agreed to these debates with these moderators, and whoever is responsible for that did not do their job. They were weak, they were cowardly, and they didn't do their job. You need to fight for fairness. You need to fight for people to be treated the way we deserve to be treated. And you need to fight for us to have our voices heard. And if you're not doing that and you're a Republican, you're failing. You are a failure, and you're not helping this movement in any way. Okay? If you really want to help this movement, you want to make sure the conservatism survives the next decade, you need to fight. You need to use levers of power. You need to work to actually win. Okay? You can't just roll over to the media or to some celebrity every time they ask you to do something, which is what they've essentially done. They roll over all the time for these people who are supposed to be important. Guess what? They're not important, and they're generally evil people. So why are we rolling over for these people? They hate us. Okay? They don't like us. They're never going to like you. Whoever is out there in the administration or in the GOP or whoever it is who's waiting for the media to like them, they are never going to like you. These people hate you. Get it through your head and start behaving as if these people hate you, okay? Because they do. If they had their choice, most of us would be dead. If they would prefer that, okay? And I know that sounds dramatic, but it's true. Take a poll or something. Take a poll of Democrat Twitter users. The majority would, if they said, hey, would you prefer Republicans in power for 2 decades or would you prefer them dead? They would say dead. Okay, so let's be real about it. You need to use your power, your leverage to require fairness because nobody's going to give it to us. You have to fight for it. God, I'm so angry. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
All right.
I mean, it's unbelievable that media, just can't do their job with any of this. Like breaking news that you broke, like you're a Hollywood director. You had to essentially do their work for them.
Yeah, it's not my job.
Do their work. Like it's unbelievable. They scrub all this information. They protect people on the left. If there's anything that comes out about people on the left, we saw it with Christine Blasey Ford, right? When that whole thing went down. The first thing they did was scrub her accounts, all of her activism that she was involved with for Hillary Clinton. They cover for their own because they are an extension of the Democratic Party. The media serves the Democratic Party and globalist agendas. I mean, it's not a conspiracy theory.
I want to make a point real quick because, some people might think me getting upset about this is just like, part of being a personality or whatever. It's not. Ask my wife is here. Do I get angry?
No.
I'm a very, very level-headed person. I don't get angry. I don't jump to conclusions. I'm very thoughtful with my words. I'm very, very thoughtful with the way that I go about things and my thought process in general. I don't go for dramatics or extremes. Okay. I think that extremes are generally not a great place to go. But in my thought process right now, I'm very upset. I'm very angry because I'm angry at the people who are not fighting for normal people, okay? And it's too many people on both sides who are just refusing to fight for normal people. They're rigging the system and they're trying to turn us into a socialist country, okay? And I can't sit by and allow it to happen and just collect my check and say, you know what, it's not going to affect me, so fuck everybody else, okay? I can't do that. That's what everybody else in Hollywood and in the swamp is doing. I want you guys to understand something. I gave up a lot of money to be here. And I know that's not a popular thing to say because people are like, oh, it sounds egotistical. But I did. And I did it because I can't be a part of that system. I can't fuck people over because it won't affect me. And let me be very clear. If you're in Hollywood or you're in DC, you're in that swamp system, our country becoming socialist doesn't affect you. It really doesn't. It wouldn't really bother you one way or the other. It's a little extra, it'd be more taxes but the reality is rich people have ways around that, okay? They do. It'll affect you. It'll affect normal, everyday, hardworking people, the middle class of our country. It will destroy them, okay? We'll no longer have equal opportunity. We'll have equal outcome for everybody. And that means equally shitty outcomes for everybody, okay? I don't want to see that happen in my country. So I'm going to fight. And I've had enough. I've had enough of all of this. And when I say fight, I mean through every legal means possible to make sure that our country doesn't end up in that place. And I hope you guys stick with us and you guys do the same thing. I don't know when Twitter is going to kick me off, but I'm sure it'll be at some point here soon. So follow us on the other platforms, sign up for our mailing list so we can stay in touch because we need to use every legal means we can to fight this insanity. But I'm just, maybe I shouldn't have done a live stream today because I'm really pissed about this.
No, I don't think you should hide, your emotion. There's a time for emotion, and I think that it people that get emotional about minutia, people get desensitized to their reactions, right? But
I don't think you guys have ever seen me angry on a live stream.
But no, I think that this is very warranted, and I just want to see more conservative and Republican leaders understand that they're in an ideological war and potentially a full-blown civil war, and they're showing up, to Congress, to various media outlets, and it's like they're being interviewed for a Cosmo cover. I mean, they're completely lacking in an awareness of what is happening in our country. They're not fighting, and maybe it's because they don't have a mother that had to flee a socialist country. Maybe it's because they don't actually understand the ramifications of a socialist government. Maybe it's because they're wrapped up in their own, I worked so hard to finally get my political status, and here I have it. Nobody's going to ruin it for me. I don't know what it is for each individual, but we can't have spineless cowards. In every city, we have to pay attention to our local elections and find the fighters, because that's what it's going to take.
We need fighters.
It's going to take fighters.
To destroy socialism, you need to have people in office who understand how to destroy socialism. To fight the cultural Marxists on the left, you need to elect people who know how to tear that system apart from the inside. That's why, I don't know if I have to file something with FEC or anything, so I'm not going to say what I'm about to say, but you guys get the point. I'm done. I'm gonna go after what needs to be gone after to get the power necessary to change things. Because I've had enough. I've had enough of all of these feckless, spineless people who will not fight for people. We need fighters in office who know how to destroy socialism, who know how to destroy cultural Marxists from the inside. And whether win or lose, I'm gonna go after it. I'm gonna fight. I'm done with it. I really am.
If you think about it, what is the GOP doing to combat this? Things like the media stuff, right? So when it comes out that, and they're trying to blame whatever's happened, the accusation with the Gretchen Whitmer thing, they're trying to pin it on Trump supporters and Republicans and whatnot. Where's the oppositional? Where's the GOP coming out and tracking these people? Like, it doesn't take that. Like, it's not like we have a secret CIA database or something. I mean, this is common knowledge. It just takes a little effort, and it shouldn't take people like us to do this undercover, investigation. It should take journalists. And if there are no journalists on the right doing this kind of work, then what is the GOP doing? Because we're in an ideological war. You have to fight You have to come back and disprove things. You have to do your due diligence. You have to be in real time. Some of them are just so sleepy. They're like, oh, we'll get to that, and it doesn't get done.
I'll give you a for instance, okay? And this may sound like a stupid thing, but I just saw somebody comment something about this. I don't know if it was YouTube or Parler, but one of you guys said, about the whole Latinx thing, okay? I actually saw that there was, or I'm not going to out them, I don't think it does any good, but there's a Republican elected official who actually retweeted something with the term, and they thought that it meant young Latino people. They didn't,
because they're out of touch.
They don't understand. They don't understand the cultural aspect of what's being done. And what happens is these people fall for this crap. They perpetuate it, and then it gets accepted into society. We need people, and I'm trying again. Like, I try very hard not to be egotistical. Try very hard not to put ego out there or But we need people like me in office. We do, who will fight this ridiculous stuff and who will say no. Who will say, I'm not going to be a party to us changing our language to change cultures, okay? It's not our place to change the Spanish language, okay? Over 97% in Pew poll, 98% in Think Progress poll of Latino people, Latin people, Hispanic people say that they do not want to be called that term, okay? So American white leftists, stop calling them that term. Okay, it's insulting, it's ridiculous, and if you're a Republican elected official and you're helping them perpetuate that ridiculous language, you're not doing your job.
Any of their ridiculous stuff, their identity politics in schools, everything that they're doing to erode our culture, to erode American values, to erode our history, to instill leftism, every aspect of culture. You cannot leave your house now without being faced with it. So what are we doing as individuals to combat it, right? If you see that happening, it's time to speak up. It really is, because we're going to feel
if they win,
a lot of regret for not speaking up.
If they win and they win all three branches, I don't know that me running will make enough of a difference, because they'll have the power at that point to do things that are unthinkable.
To completely silence you.
But that's the other thing is,
social media.
If you don't get out there, get new voters, drive people to vote in November, physically drive them in your car to go vote, okay? Do whatever needs to be done to get people in a legal way to get them to the polls in November on election day in person. Because if we don't win this election and they take all three branches of government, we are essentially, they can unperson all of us. And they're not going to only come after people like me, only come after people that are verified influencers or whatever. They're going to come after all of us. They're going to silence everybody. We'll live in a system where every word is monitored. We'll have a social credit system like China. Yep. And people who have the wrong thoughts will be on the wrong end of being able to advance in society.
They're already beta testing that.
They already are. Even social media companies are. Social media companies in their algorithm essentially have a social credit score of their own already. Right. Based on the language you use, based on how often you post, based on all. I could go on for days and days and days. They're already testing this stuff. It's imperative that we win. Mm-hmm. So don't be complacent. Don't say, oh, well, my vote's not worth anything. Let me give you an example. In a place like North Carolina, 59 elections over 5 years, where I think it's either 5 or 8 years, were decided by one vote. Okay, 59 different elections, which, by the way, I think somebody should take a look at that. It seems kind of weird. But, your vote does matter. It does matter, and it doesn't matter if you're in a super red state, super blue state. Your vote matters. You need to vote. And get as many people as you can out to vote. And I'm not one of those people like the leftist celebrities who say, vote, it's so important to vote. I'm telling you, vote for Republicans, okay? I'm being very clear about it. I'm not a hack like those people. I'm not going to, please go vote. Vote for Republicans. If you're not going to vote for them, I would prefer that you take a giant nap that day.
Also, here's the other thing. There's a lot of independents or people that just, can't get on board with the identity aspect of, being in politics. And taking a stand, okay? To those people, I would say, I understand that you're upset with the false dichotomy that is, two crappy choices in every election that you feel, you have, which essentially there are not choices. There's never going to be a nuanced, independent, candidate. I mean, has there been one in our history? Maybe.
Listen, you know what? If you hate Trump,
anyway,
if you hate Trump, it's fine.
Exactly.
It's fine. You can
That's
hate
not what
Trump
it's
all
about.
day long. It's not about him. This election is about preserving our country.
Freedom. No, it's just about if you value your individual freedom.
Which is our country. That's the foundation of our country.
Right, but I'm
America falls. There's nowhere else to go.
I'm emphasizing though to people that just maybe think about themselves. Okay, maybe the concept of everyone's freedom is too, intangible. Just think about your own freedom, your own dreams. Can you tell me any famous socialists that made their dreams in a socialist system? Is there like a National Socialism Day of all the famous socialist innovators, inventors? No, there's not. They're all tyrants. They're all go down in history as being, in charge of genocide.
Honestly, you know what? If they win, I'm gonna also say this. If they win this election and they win all three branches, I don't know what. We may just buy an island and start our own conservative island and invite people to live there and be a part of it who are not insane, and we'll have our own system that is conservative, and that's it. Honestly, I don't want to sit here and watch the country that I love be destroyed by radicals and extremists and just straight up lunatics who want to destroy what made this country so great. And I'm not one of those celebrities like, I'm going to move if the people I like don't get elected. I'm being dead serious because this is not in the past. I always was like the people who are like, oh, we have socialism's coming or blah, blah, blah. I'm like, they're being dramatic. I've never done that. This is the first election ever where I'm taking that language and I'm adopting it and I'm saying, this is that important of an election. And I hope that means something to people, that I've never been dramatic. I've never been extreme in the way that I talk about any of these things. And I'm trying to make a point that this is that important of an election. What they're doing should worry you. It should worry you. And I hate that because I don't think that we should be operating out of fear. I think fear is a terrible place to operate from. I think that you need to operate from a place of power, and you need to have awareness, but
of what's happening.
If somebody doesn't understand what's happening and what's necessary to fix it, I do understand there being fear, because we've seen what happens to countries when they go through this. So, maybe at this point we should turn off the stream because I'm kind of going.
Yeah, I've heard so many parents talk about starting their own schools, micro schooling. We have to be willing to do whatever it takes to protect our kids from leftist indoctrination centers, which are now our education system. And if you think that private schools or even some Christian schools I've heard of are adopting these far left indoctrination modules, identity politics in schools, critical race theory, even radical sex education, CSE, comprehensive sexuality education. This is parents need to know what's going on.
I'm dead serious about the island, by the way. We haven't talked about this, but I'm dead serious about it.
It kind of sounded really nice when you're talking about it. I'm like,
I'm dead serious. There's islands. I was actually, and I also, so last night, I didn't tell my wife this yet, but last night I was like looking at all these islands for sale online, and I was thinking about this. I'm like, you could theoretically start your own country on one of these islands. They're like $3 million for an island or $4 million for an island. You could theoretically start your own island and advance a conservative culture on an island that nobody could come and say, oh, no, you know what? You have to accept this progressive bullshit.
Right.
So I'm dead serious. If they destroy this country, I think that's the next step. But we need to fight for this country. Right. We need to fight as long as we're able to, because what this country is just so damn special. And the freedom that this was founded on is so damn special. And the people who want to degrade that and pull it back again are leftists who believe that everything about this country is inherently racist or inherently hateful or inherently blah, 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 blah. But the reality is there's no other country on earth where people like me, people like Jay-Z, people like from every walk of life, can take the shitty place they were born and turn themselves into a success. There is nowhere else in the world where everybody has that opportunity. No. I've been all over the world. It doesn't exist. Okay, there are barriers in every other system that make it very difficult. Is it possible? You could argue there's possibilities, blah, blah, blah. But it is not as simple and as easy as it is in America. America is the most special place in the world because it is the most free place in the world. And as long as that is true, we will continue to be that special place. But if we lose this election to these lunatics, and they get control of all three branches of government, that will cease to be the case. We will be on a path to losing all those freedoms, losing what makes us special, and being in a really dangerous spot where people like us are targeted, and we will be targeted at that point. We're already being targeted now, but we'll be more directly targeted afterwards. So I need everybody to fight and get on the same page. Somebody mentioned Sweden when we talked about socialism. Sweden's not a socialist country. If you need a primer on that and want some like deep dive information on that, go watch our episode with Rand Paul at youtube.com/Robbie Starbuck. We dove into that with his book. What's the name of the book?
Socialism something.
It's the case against socialism.
That's it. Yeah.
Which, by the way, is an incredible book. Outlines exactly why it's not a socialist system. Even Sweden says themselves they're not a socialist system. They're built on capitalism. Same thing with Norway. So just keep that in mind. Get that information from that video and help spread that as well.
Also, I hate to say it, people on the left who are advocating for the socialist model, right? They're complete hypocrites. What have they done? See, we live in America where you're free to go start your own commune and do food shares and do property shares. Why haven't they done it? Why don't they live their values? They're free to do so. They could purchase land, have their own. You know how they did that city with Chaz or Chad? Chaz, was it Chaz?
Chaz Chop.
Okay, Chaz or Chop, right? But instead of taking other people's land or communal, community property, city property, government property, they could go buy land, right, and do their whole socialist model there. They could bring their celebrity virtue signaling friends that are virtue signaling about socialism all day, and they could take their money and they could live like all the other people do, but they choose not to.
Yep,
Why?
they don't.
Because they're hypocrites.
Yep.
It's not about that. It's about I'm miserable and I want everybody else to feel as miserable as I am. Nobody can be successful because I'm miserable. That's where it comes from. Otherwise, they would be living their values. They'd be starting their own successful, micro models to show everybody how successful it is, right?
Yep.
It's not successful. It's failed every single time.
Yep. And thank you, Alinti18. You will be officially invited to the island if that ends up happening. Hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully we just win and we can keep America great. We can keep our freedoms. Same thing with everybody else who asked. I'm dead serious about moving to your island. I'm dead serious. I really am. I'm dead serious about this. And it actually kind of sounds nice.
What if it's just even a vacation island, right? So that you don't have to listen to
Cardi
nonsense,
B. You don't have to listen to Cardi B outside.
Nobody's going to be virtue signaling to you and moralizing to you while they're caught in their own sex scandals.
Eugene Marks, who's trolling here, says Europe ranks higher on the freedom scale than America. Let me ask you a question, Eugene. Who came up with the freedom scale? Who came up with the parameters for it? Leftists who desire us to end up like some of the more left-wing countries, and you're actually desire us to go further into something like China, but that's a step. And they desire us to go in that direction, so they're trying to lead you that direction.
Well,
okay? You have to understand, you have to peel back layers in your life, okay? And I hope you can do this, that you're still able to be worked to the point of listening. Try to peel back some layers and questions. When you see something like a poverty ranking scale, okay, in the United States, they'll tell you that there's red states at the top. What they don't tell you is it's not adjusted for income. When you adjust those scales for income and the cost of living, blue states are all at the top. They're the worst poverty states. They're the worst run states. They have the worst wealth inequality, okay? But they don't tell you that because the people who create those poverty rankings, they're Democrats. And so they don't adjust on purpose for cost of living or for any of those things, because they don't want you to know the truth. They want to perpetuate the idea that they do things better. Right. They don't do things better. So you need to peel back layers and get to the truth yourself, because like I exposed yesterday with the Whitmer plotters that they arrested, the media doesn't tell us the truth anymore. Right. Okay. And I'm not sure at this point that they ever did. Okay, so, but it is our job. We have the resources. We have the ability to fact check them. Do it, use it. You may not vote the way I do, but stop falling for all the basic shit that they throw at you. Okay, you need to fight for your own brain, for your own thoughts, for your own freedom.
You can also Google grooming gangs that are happening in Europe, where these victims who have told their horrific stories their own governments are refusing to prosecute these rapists because they don't want to be culturally insensitive. So if that's your idea of living in a place where you can be gang raped in your own police department and government refuses to prosecute the people who did it to you based on the ethnicity or color of their skin, if that's your idea of freedom, living in a free country, then maybe we have different ideas of what freedom means.
Yep. Thank you guys. Love you all. I'm reading your guys' comments. Refocus Zone, thank you. And Life Love AR, thank you for the kind words.
Oh, this weekend.
You'll be the island park ranger. I like that. We need park rangers. That's a good idea. By the way, one requirement to living on the island is everybody has to own a gun. Okay, at least one gun per adult is required to live on our island. We are our own police. We are our own military on our island. And everybody has to have one. That's going to be the rule on our island, okay? So
interesting case study.
training
what is
now.
That town in
Yeah,
Georgia?
There's a town in Georgia where they require everybody who
Right.
lives there to own a gun.
And they have
the lowest crime rate
rates
in Georgia. They have no armed robberies. They have, it's crazy. So the idea works, and that would be what happens on the island. Everybody would be armed.
So this weekend, while you're looking at the comments, I'll just say a couple things. This weekend, as long as the weather permits, as far as I know, it's still happening. Brandon Straka's Walk Away rally is Saturday in Nashville, and I'm pretty sure we'll stream that live, but we're both going to be speaking there.
Yep.
And then Sunday, we have our Rally for Freedom, weather permitting. We're still trying to figure that out just to cover.
Well, I'm going to be very honest. So with the rally Sunday, the Rally for Freedom, we'll know the weather as we get closer. So just check your emails if you're coming to that rally, because at worst case, we do have a rain backup that we may switch locations just down the street. It's really close. But, we're hoping for no rain or having tents or something like that, but we're working on it.
Maybe
we'll still be right? No. We'll still be able to stream it, but I don't want to tell people that because I want people to show up. Okay, still come. Okay. We need to all get together. We need to be seen. We need to be heard. Don't just watch it here. Only watch it here. It's not going to get canceled. The Sunday one's not being canceled.
Okay.
I'll stand out in the rain if I have to.
Well, me too, but it's not just us speaking. Some people,
I think people are at the point where they'll stand in the rain. And you know what? If any politician who's speaking at our rally cannot stand in the rain for their voters, then they don't deserve their vote. So
well said.
I've had enough. I'm doing everything I can to help these people, to help these politicians connect with voters, to help people do the right thing, to fight for this country. But I have had enough of making excuses for people who are lazy, who are rhinos.
Yeah.
People need to get off their butt and they need to take action. They need to do things.
I want to say something too, because Robbie's humble. He's not going to say it, but Robbie does so much work for so many people's entertainment platforms and conservative entertainment. And it's not about credit or anything, but it's about doing your own work. Work is hard. As my husband, work is hard. If you're in entertainment and you're a news curator or you're a producer for news or you're a Twitter influencer, whatever it is, it's flattering to get to take the content of what he's worked on, but work is hard to find your own content, because he shouldn't be the only one breaking this kind of stuff. He's a director. We want to make movies for conservative.
Yeah, I would much rather be doing something else. Content. I really would.
That's what we want to be doing. We're not trying to be journalists here. We're fighting for our country, and we're trying to create a ecosystem of entertainment that isn't full of leftist indoctrination. Yeah. That's our goal.
They've forced us to be.
So that's the thing. Is just I'm kind of tired of seeing people steal and just and use what you're doing, and then they just keep taking. It's
fine. I don't get offended.
That's my personal opinion. It's not about being offended. I'm not.
I know. You're a good wife.
Work hard. I want them to find their own stuff, because you can't do it all. Okay?
Yeah, we need
There's
more.
Plenty
we need
of
more
things
fighters.
that need to be uncovered, and there's just not enough hours in the day.
Yeah.
But,
so M23G said you two are so adorable. Well, thank you. I love you too.
Thanks.
Let's see. So we should probably go. But yes, we can have a winery on the island. 100%. You need to have a winery. That wouldn't be humane to have one. We're definitely going to have laws about being humane, and a winery, I think, is on that list of something in our new version of the UN Human Rights Council. You have to have plastic straws. You have to have a vineyard. Mm-hmm. You have to have plastic bags. I'm just kidding. We don't need plastic bags. We can do the little, what do they call them? The canvas ones. And we don't need to be jerks about it.
Hey,
okay.
But you know what? But then I like to use the plastic bags to clean up dog poop and cat poop. So.
Well, you know what? You can pick it up with your hands, okay? If you care about the earth.
That's
I'm just
disgusting.
kidding. That's what they're going to get to in California. They're going to be
Am I
like,
the
no
only-
more dog poop bags.
Am I
Pick it
the
up with
only
your
person
hands.
that does that?
No, everybody else
Okay.
picks up their dog poop
Well,
with
some
that.
people
Unless
get those
it's in your
fancy
backyard.
ones.
No,
some
in your
people
backyard.
buy the
no.
fancy rolls, at
Okay,
Petco.
we're veering
Okay,
way
all right,
off.
All right. So
But I mean, you use a pooper scooper in your own yard. But if you're like taking your dog for a walk, you use a plastic bag.
I use Publix bags.
So we will do streaming, but please, if you're planning on coming, definitely come if you can. If you live in the Tennessee area, come to the rallies. Don't stream. Don't be lazy. Get off your butt and come to the rallies. There's info at rallyforfreedom.com. That one is on Sunday at 3.
Put out your flags.
Put out your flags.
Wear
Don't
patriotic
be afraid.
gear.
By the way,
Don't be
I saw
afraid
somebody
of conversations.
I saw somebody ask about this new sweater, and I'm not just saying this because we make it, because honestly we don't get that much of off these, but I will say this is like the most comfy sweater ever. Somebody asked if it's comfy. It is so soft.
So comfy.
Okay, let's not do it. Let's not be QVC here. But it is very comfy. If you want to see the inside, it's like that soft cotton material that's like crazy soft. So these are great. They're on growuplive.com. If you press the merch and then you like click into Teespring after that, Teespring has all the merch. This is, I think it's the premium hoodie. You can tell by these white strings, but it's great, and it's a great fit too. So I'm not just saying that, but any money that we make off merch is not income for us.
No,
it goes directly into content and into stuff like that. So to editors and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, we have a lot of mini documentaries too that we want to produce, covering a lot of investigation that should be happening that isn't for whatever reason. So again.
And if you don't like clothes, there's also just a support us tab on growuplive.com where you can do PayPal or whatever. If you don't like clothes, some people are nudists,
Well, it's scary. Some people are really afraid to wear, even American flag, because apparently that's a tell now. If you're wearing an American flag, it's very triggering for people that hate America.
Yeah. All right, guys.
That live in America, that are having their Starbucks.
We love you guys. I do ask this at the very least. I know some people, especially with the pandemic, aren't in a position to donate money or buy a shirt or whatever. Just share this, because the most important thing to me is that this message resonates, that it gets through to people, and that it gets shared. So retweet this, put it on other platforms. If it's on YouTube, add it to a playlist, whatever it is. Try to get this message out there more about what social media plans to do and how they plan to interfere in the election. It's very important. It's critical. Stick with us. Make sure you follow us on other platforms like Parler, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. I'm at Robbie Starbuck on all of them except for Facebook, where I'm at Robbie Starbuck RSM. And she's confusing. Hers is Matriarch on Parler, Matriarch Songs on YouTube.
Instagram.
I'm Matriarch on Twitter. Matriarch Songs on Instagram. Man, you're confusing.
It wasn't intentional. I just all the other handles are taken.
So thank you guys. Love you all. Talk to you guys soon. We have a show. Oh, what's our show tomorrow?
I said it.
No. I'm sorry. Our next show next week.
Oh, don't we have? Next
is it
Abby Johnson? I think.
Is she the next one?
I want to
tell you guys so you can put it in your calendars real quick.
Go to the calendar.
Up
on the far left, right here.
There we go.
Calendar.
So let's see. Next episode will be on, obviously, the rally
Tuesday,
streaming.
October 13th.
But the next guest will be
Abby Johnson, 1:30 Central
Abby
Time.
Johnson, 1:30 Central Time. She's former Planned Parenthood. She was at the Republican National Convention. You may remember her. So that should be a good episode as well. If you have any questions, go ahead and send them in to us. At us at Grow Up Live. Our Twitter's at Grow Up Live, right? Yeah, at Grow Up Live.
I think so.
At us there with any
Clearly
questions
we're great
you
with
have
social
for her.
media.
We're not great marketers, honestly.
No.
I think that's the worst thing about both of us is neither of us are marketers. So
Sorry about
if
that.
you feel like marketing, go ahead and DM us. All right, guys. Thank you, guys.
Getting back to homeschooling.